So I'm going to start and Naoko will pick up the story partway through. The Eco-Creative Cluster in Oban, housed by the Rockfield Centre, aiming to establish a creative network around creating a community dye garden with workshops led by myself, and in parallel, Naoko building a broader network of creative practitioners, each focusing on an ecological and sustainable approach to their practice. So our first aim, creating new networks, 6 volunteers plus the core team engaged in planning the garden and so on, making practical connections with other local practitioners, making virtual connections. Naoko will speak more about that in a minute or two. And also, importantly, to broaden the opportunities for engagement with the Rockfield Centre, being Oban's newly opened cultural hub. Second aim, to produce a learning resource, both a physical learning resource in terms of the garden itself, and hopefully in time, either digital or printed resource about horticulture, about natural dyeing and techniques associated with that. Improving the visual amenity of a very neglected corner of Oban and adding to the sense of place. And most important of all, really providing opportunities for social inclusion, physical activity and improving well-being. So creating the dye garden itself, because of the pandemic, we couldn't start until mid-April, and we had a lot of work to do to clear the site before we could start growing anything. We actually sowed the seeds. Each of the volunteers and Naoko and I had seeds and pots and compost and grew them on in our own gardens before we had the ground ready. We got some early publicity at the time of the Rockfield Centre's open day. We had a good article in the local press, including on the front page, and a podcast as well, which helped to generate some local interest. The construction team worked really hard through May and June to make raised beds on half of the plot. We decided to concentrate on one side first. We were able to use recycled timber. And at the beginning of June, we were able to plant out plants that we'd raised in our own garden pots. Plants grew on very well, nice sunny site and beautiful soil donated by one of our volunteers. And so this is the site, a photograph taken on the 12th of August. The left-hand side got constructed later on and planted up later, but it's catching up. We asked for our volunteers to give us some feedback. I'm happy to answer questions on this later, but basically we asked 5 questions. Why did you decide to volunteer with the Eco-Creative Cluster? What was the best part so far of volunteering with the project? Has the involvement with the Eco-Creative Cluster make you think differently about your life in the community or about Oban as a place? Would you like to continue? And if so, how would you like to be involved? And then we just asked for any other comments. And this one, I think Eco-Creative Cluster is an excellent project for the development of innovative and collaborative work, bringing local communities together and building links around the world. Naoko will talk a bit more about the international links. We had our first workshop at the end of June using a technique called tatakizome, very simple technique for transferring colour from plants onto fabric. We were restricted in numbers due to the COVID restrictions at the time, but we had full take-up of the places that were available, and everybody certainly enjoyed it and produced panels of tatakizome prints we made into a banner. And we invited the international artists that Naoko is going to speak to you about also to contribute to panels to the banner, and so that we literally stitched together the in-person and the virtual elements of the project into this banner. We asked the workshop participants for some feedback. We asked them if they enjoyed it. 6 people, which is the total number of people who actually returned evaluation forms, they all scored it 5 out of 5, which was great. We asked them if it was well organised. Only 5 people answered that one, but they all scored it 5 out of 5. What did they get from the event? And a variety of things about inspiration, the technical knowledge, really, and just pleasure from discovering the use of plants for the future. We asked people if they would like to attend more activities. 6 out of 6 said yes. And we have done our first dye extraction from our own grown dye plants. And this is from the woad in the dye garden. And I'm trying to show you a video, but I've not got my cursor. Can you see it?
No.
Okay, maybe we won't show the video then. It was only very short. So basically, dyeing wool, silk, cotton and linen with what looks like a yellow dye, but when you lift it out into the air, it goes blue. And just briefly, in interacting with wider audiences on social media, you can see here that the posts on Instagram and on Facebook were posted from 3 different accounts, and we collated a number of very positive responses to those posts. And our future plans for the dye garden side of our project is really for next year to expand the range of dye plants, to expand the range of workshops and demonstrations relating to those dye plants, to continue to create the learning resource relating information about the plants, used in a variety of different ways. I'm going to hand over to Naoko now for the rest of the story.
Thank you, Deborah. So in parallel, just Deborah mentioned, in parallel to the dye garden development, the project also aimed to weave a wider network of practitioners who use similar materials and techniques, working across different localities in the world with a sustainable and ecological approach. So we invited Lucio Gianchele, an artist, educator, and textile researcher as an expert to support the project. So in April, she gave us a planning session to our team, and Chat hosted Lucio's indigo-focused webinar to a wider audience, which was useful, especially because it was still the time of restriction of physical activities in a larger group. And we couldn't really start the groundwork of the garden, so that was helpful. And we invited 5 practitioners for a monthly virtual artist conversation series. And when I chose who to invite, I tried to be conscious about the diversity in perspective, in geography where they are based, and the scale of their practice. So the first practitioner in February was obviously Deborah, a textile artist based in Oban, our lead artist of the project. So in summary, if I summarize, we learned that how to look at our land or landscape and capture and translate them into artistic languages using something sometimes chemical or scientific natural dye processes. Audience number was 34. We got really positive comment from the audience. And then in March, we invited Monica Haddock, who is the head weaver at Daradish farm and weaving mill on the Isle of Mull. And we learned how to develop practice. Monica said that the growth for the Daradish is not about the scale, but more like a network kind of more horizontal development. The audience number was 65. We got, again, the very positive. And in April, the 3rd practitioner was Fernanda Mascarenas, who is a natural dyer and textile artist based in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And we learned how to rediscover our own locality from what is abandoned, usually abandoned or neglected. The audience number was 33, a very positive reaction again. And then also the Fernanda said that that was the first time for her to give a presentation in English language. So that was really great opportunity for both of us. The fourth practitioner in May, we invited Nanako Suzuki, who is a designer based in Japan. Last year, Nanako carried out a textile making project in Yubari in Japan using Yubari melon, which is a local specialty in Yubari. So we learned that how to enter a community and return something to the community. Audience number was 20. And again, she's a very young early career designer or creative practitioner. So it was a good chance for her to introduce what she's doing to wider audience. So lastly, fifth practitioner we invited was Boubacar Doumbia, who is a Bogoran artist based in Ségou in Mali. Boubacar is one of the founding members of group Bogoran Kasobane, a group of artists who use and safeguard the traditional technique of natural dyeing called Bogoran. Boubacar is also the promoter at Ndomo, a social enterprise training local young people. We, with Boubacar, we learned how to be responsible as a community for the local challenges. And the audience number was 28, very positive again. And when I was looking for his Bogoran informations, because the main language people use in Mali is French, I couldn't find lots of information in English. So with Hannah, actually Deborah's daughter, who is fluent in French, helped out. And then I hope that created, like a quite rare opportunity for us to learn about Boubacar's practice or Ndomo or Bogoran technique in English language. All the total audience number was 180. And we got some feedbacks from invited artists. What impact has your involvement with the project had for you? What value did you get from contributing to the project? Has your involvement in the project made you think differently about your own practice? Has the international aspect of the project had an impact? And do you think your contacts or collaborations with the project will continue into the future? Some answers are mixed, depending on what kind of stage, career stage they are at, but mostly very positive. And then everyone said that they want to keep working with us, so that's great. So looking ahead, the future development, as Deborah mentioned, we are currently discussing the next stage of the project, kind of roughly keeping the similar structure of two mainstream of Dye Garden, which is grounded in Oban, and a wider network weaving, which with practitioners based outside of Oban. We hope to keep weaving the story with a thread of eco-creative cluster. For the network weaving strand side, like Tatakizome workshop and banner making we did in this edition, because it was a really great way to make the network develop virtually into something physical or tangible, as Deborah mentioned. So we hope to have something similar, like making something together with including practitioners living elsewhere, and then hopefully making an occasion to showcase at the Rockfield Centre in the end. So that's us, and thank you very much. Now we have a short video to summarize the trajectory of our project, so which Michael shows for us. Thank you.